Yahoo, lovelies! It's good to see you all again, and I'm glad to see you back for the final session of Season 1. We've talked a lot about temperature, and all its different forms, too. Today, though, sorry guys, I really couldn't get out of it this time. We're going to be talking about tardigrades. Jen's absolutely thrilled, and all I can think about is Jabba the Hutt. They're not just tardigrades. We'll also be talking about magma and snowflakes. Man, that seems like a reach. Magma, snowflakes, tardigrades. Buckle up, folks, and let's get ready to rumble. Here we go.
You know we all want to see your tardigrade, Maddy.
No, Jabba the Hutt shall not exist.
I am so disappointed. I really, really want to see a Jabba the Hutt tardigrade. That would make me very happy, and probably everyone who watches the YouTube would be very happy also. You should reconsider.
Sure, they leave enough comments below. I will try to make a tardigrade.
Did everybody hear that? I want you all to leave a comment so that Maddy will have to draw a tardigrade. Please, please do that.
Okay, how many likes do we have to get for that, though? We have to have an actual number.
10 comments.
Fine.
All right, if I get 10 comments, you get to draw a tardigrade. Oh, I'm so excited. Please don't disappoint me, everyone.
They have to be from different people. They can't be 10 comments from your husband going, tardigrade, tardigrade, tardigrade. Jen told me, tardigrade.
10 separate listeners leaving comments. Yes. And then I get my tardigrade drawing. So excited.
Yes.
Maybe we'll turn it into a sticker or something fun like that. Because you know this is not the last time I'm going to talk about tardigrades.
No, she has a notebook full of them. I can attest to this.
Absolutely.
I found it in her house, under her bed.
When I started writing this series on temperature, I was worried I wouldn't have enough information to fill 10 sessions. Boy, was I wrong. I could write another 10 scripts and still have more to share. But it is time to end our exploration with temperature, so today I'd like to do a grab bag of topics. Snowflakes, magma, and tardigrades, oh my! I'd say that when I was a kid, I used to cut snowflakes out of paper, but I did it last Christmas too. Paper snowflakes can be 4, 6, or 8-sided, depending on how they are folded, but in nature, almost all snowflakes are 6-sided. Anomalies can happen, and in science, nothing is absolute, but it is safe to say that snowflakes are 6-sided. However, the 6 sides can take various shapes depending on the temperature at which they are formed. To form snowflakes, the moisture in the atmosphere must be below freezing. Normally, they start forming at 28 degrees Fahrenheit, -2 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, snowflakes are small, 6-sided plates or small dendrites. Dendrites are plate-like snowflakes with 6 arms, like the type you would cut from paper. Between 21 degrees Fahrenheit, -6 degrees Celsius, and 14 degrees Fahrenheit, -10 degrees Celsius, snowflakes are still 6-sided, but look like skinny needles or fat barrels. They can be hollow or solid.
Did they do this inside of a freezer? Where they we have to test these snowflakes, but they can't melt. So catch one and run to the freezer so we can start dissecting.
Some research is done in a lab, but I will tell you that I know people who study snow, and they go to where the snow is, which means they basically set up a mobile lab where the snow is, in the cold, parkas on and everything. At 5 degrees Fahrenheit, -15 degrees Celsius, snowflakes are larger and once again are plates or dendrites. I have included a great chart in the notes that shows what each of these snowflakes looks like. The intricacy of snowflakes depends on the moisture levels and how quickly they grow, but their shape is determined by temperature. How cool is that? As an aside, you have probably heard that no 2 snowflakes are alike, or you maybe just heard that for the first time. Trillions of snowflakes fall each winter, and they are all made up of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Could they all really be different? Of course, we have not seen every snowflake, but yes, they can all be different. What a snowflake looks like when it hits the ground is determined by air temperature, the path it took to the ground, humidity, ground temperature, and other variables. With all these different combinations, each snowflake is probably unique. Substances like water exist in one of 4 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, or plasma. What state the matter is in depends on temperature and pressure. Depending on their molecular makeup, different molecules can be in different states at the same temperature. So here on Earth, at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 21.1 degrees Celsius, water is a liquid and so is mercury, but carbon dioxide is a gas and gold is a solid. It is lucky for us that not everything is a liquid, gas, or solid at the same temperature. Otherwise, we would not exist, and even if we did, the environment would be very unpleasant.
If water was a gas, oxygen was a liquid, what kind of adaptations do you think we would have had? Because when we drink water, it doesn't go into the lungs. Like, would our lungs be something different? Like, would our lungs be shaped instead to, take water as we drink it? Or would our stomach become our lung?
Or would we be fish? If you believe in a multiverse idea, then one version is that there's an infinite number of universes, and they're not all alike. And because of that, life does not survive in all multiverses. So perhaps there is a multiverse in which all substances are liquid at the same temperature. I'm willing to bet that life has a hard time getting started. But it would make a very interesting science fiction story if anybody wants to write that.
Yay!
I have included a chart in the notes that shows the relationship between temperature and pressure. As pressure and temperature rise, the points at which a substance changes from solid to liquid or from liquid to gas also increases. By creating these charts, fascinating features emerge. One of those is the triple point of matter. This is the temperature and pressure at which a substance exists as a solid, liquid, and gas simultaneously. It varies by item. For water, it is at 4.62 millimeters of mercury and 0.01 degrees Celsius. A quick aside. We are not diving into pressure in this series, but I did want to explain what a millimeter of mercury meant. It is the pressure exerted by 1 millimeter of mercury at 273.15 Kelvin, 0 degrees Celsius. Here on Earth, we often measure pressure in atmospheres. Sea level is at 1 atmosphere, which is equal to 760 millimeters of mercury. As an aside to this aside, millimeters of mercury is most often used to measure blood pressure. When we say your blood pressure is 120/80, those numbers are in millimeters of mercury.
Why mercury?
Well, if you remember, it's liquid at room temperature and was used in thermometers.
Well, yes, but I would imagine we want to step away from the poisonous thing. Congratulations, your blood pressure is this close to poison.
Nowadays, we don't have to use mercury to say millimeters of mercury because we have digital devices that will measure it the same way.
Still funny that they chose mercury at all.
I think it's because of Fahrenheit. I think when they figured out it worked really well in thermometers, they used it probably in barometers and other devices too that measured atmospheric pressure. And thus, you got millimeters of mercury. But no, it would not be used anymore except in older equipment. Like I said, nowadays you just have to do the math and your sensor just has to act the same way the mercury does. And so it's all digital. A pressure of 4.62 millimeters of mercury is really low and usually generated in labs. The triple point of water is rarely found on Earth, although it has been measured on melting glaciers. There is another strange change in matter that is not only common, but you have probably encountered it in a grocery store. That is sublimation. As we know from cooking, substances change from solid to liquid and liquid to gas. At certain temperatures and pressures, however, a substance can change from solid to gas without becoming a liquid. This is sublimation. Once again, I recommend you click on the phase change chart in the notes. It shows how sublimation varies with temperature and pressure. This graph is worth 1,000 words. One common use of sublimation is to freeze dry food. I never thought of the term freeze drying, but it perfectly describes the process. Food is frozen and then sublimated, so the frozen water in the food turns directly into a gas without first becoming a liquid. This allows the frozen food to dry out and become safe to store, without the water remaining in a liquid state, which would cause the food to get soggy and gross. Freeze drying. Cool. There is so much more that can be said about how matter changes with temperature and pressure, but my head is beginning to hurt, so I'm going to move on to a favorite subject of mine, rocks.
On to a different matter.
I have a BS in geology and have always loved rocks.
You have a BS.
I have a Bachelor's of Science, thank you very much. A Bachelor's of Science. My favorite rocks are igneous. These are the rocks that start as lava or magma and cool into a variety of rock types. Magma and lava are both rocks in a melted state. Magma is found inside volcanoes and under the ground in places like Yellowstone. Magma becomes lava when it reaches the surface, like is happening in Hawaii right now. Granite, basalt, diorite, obsidian, and pumice are all igneous rocks. There are two types of igneous rocks, intrusive and extrusive. Intrusive rocks form beneath the surface, such as inside a volcano. The magma cools slowly, so the crystals in the rocks are large. Granite is a great example of this. Picture Half Dome in Yosemite. This dome is a giant granodiorite rock. Granodiorite and granite are very similar and form in similar ways. You'll have to use your imagination, but Half Dome formed underground, and the surrounding rock eroded over millions of years. The shape of Half Dome shows what the magma chamber looked like. As you get up close to Half Dome, you will see that the crystals are easy to see because the rock cooled slowly. Amazing. Extrusive rocks are formed when lava encounters air or water and cools rapidly. The crystals do not have time to grow, so they are small. Basalt is a common extrusive rock. It looks uniform because it begins to cool as soon as it is exposed to air. Igneous rocks are differentiated by the percentage of minerals they contain. Rocks that are high in silica do not flow well. When Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington in 1980, lava exploded into the air, forming rocks such as pumice. This small-grained, porous rock is high in silica, so it does not flow well. The lava in Hawaii is low in silica, so it becomes basalt. Basalt flows easily and forms different types of structures depending on the temperature of the air or water. Igneous rocks all have twins. Two rocks can be chemically the same but look very different depending on whether they are extrusive or intrusive. Basalt and gabbro are great examples. They are chemically the same, low in silica, and high in iron and magnesium. However, they do not look the same because basalt is extrusive and has small crystals, whereas gabbro is intrusive and has large crystals due to slow cooling underground. Same rock type, but different due to temperature. Geology is awesome.
It's also like extroverts and introverts. One runs around very quickly and goes, hi, 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 hi. You're my friend now.
Right.
And the other goes, I'm going to go sit in this corner somewhere with a book. I can deal with you for 5 minutes, but then I expect to be alone for the next 30.
Yes, you are extrusive and I am intrusive. I didn't plan on talking about sex in the first series we ever did, but temperature has a lot to do with sex, so here we are. The sex of offspring in mammals is not affected by temperature because it is based on chromosomes and the mother's womb maintains a constant temperature. It helps that mammals are endothermic. It helps in both living in hot and cold places and protecting offspring.
Remind me what endothermic is again?
That means we regulate our own temperature.
Wonderful.
From inside.
So folks, endothermic means everything happens on the inside. We heat ourselves, we cool ourselves.
Exothermic are animals like lizards and other reptiles because they do not regulate their own temperature internally, so they have to sun themselves to get warm or go into burrows to stay cool. But for some exothermic egg-laying reptiles, temperature completely determines the sex of the offspring. For snakes and lizards, the sex of their offspring is determined by sex chromosomes when fertilization happens, much like mammals. But for most turtles and all crocodilians, alligators, crocodiles, caimans, and garrels, the sex of the offspring is determined by egg temperature. This is called temperature-dependent sex determination, or TSD. Let's use turtles as our example. When turtles lay a clutch of eggs, the future offspring's sex has not been determined. This depends on the egg's temperature, which in turn depends on air and sand temperatures. It is amazingly precise. At air temperatures below 86 degrees Fahrenheit, 27.7 degrees Celsius, the turtles will be male. If the temperatures are over 88.8 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Celsius, the new turtles will be female. For temperatures in between, there will be a mixture of male and female turtles. The advantages and disadvantages of TSD are not completely understood. The temperature of the sand often reflects the health of the environment. If the temperature is higher, the environment may not be ideal for the turtles. Having more females than males can help keep the population stable because one male can fertilize several females. Then, if there is a period of cooler temperatures, fewer females are born and the population can stabilize. However, there are disadvantages. Too many warm or cool years and the sex percentage can tip to an irrecoverable amount. There won't be more turtles if they are all male or all female. Also, TSD occurs in the middle of the embryo's growth, and once the sex is decided, it cannot change, even if the sand's temperature changes later. This means the hatched turtles may not be as well suited for reproduction, which could have catastrophic consequences. I love tardigrades. They are so cute and can survive in amazing places. But what exactly is a tardigrade? Tardigrades go by many names.
A miniature Jabba the Hutt.
One of the names they do not go by is Jabba the Hutt, unless Maddy draws them. Tardigrades go by many names. Water bears and moss piglets are the most common, but they are also known as space bears, slow walkers, which is what tardigrade means, and pygmy rhinoceroses. They are microscopic, which might be surprising given how big they look in the pictures. Have you ever seen a tardigrade?
Yes, you showed me multiple pictures, multiple times. And when I once tried to make you a name tag, you asked for a tardigrade as one. Which is how I know that if I try to draw one, it sort of looks like Jabba the Hutt.
You will have your chance to draw one, I guarantee it. You probably haven't seen them in nature because they are smaller than a poppy seed. However, the internet is full of blown up pictures of them because they are so cute. Check out the notes for links to pictures. They have long claws at the end of 8 stubby legs and a pig-like snout. Their body is built like a miniature Michelin Man. They eat plants and bacteria and use their claws to tear up food like moss. There are over 1,500 known species of tardigrades. Considering that there can be over 1,000 water bears living in a handful of moss, their total population could be in the trillions. They live all over the earth, from mountaintops to the bottom of the ocean, and from the freezing ice of Antarctica to boiling hot springs. They put the extreme in extremophiles. I could go on forever about tardigrades, but we are here to talk about temperatures. No worry, tardigrades laugh at temperatures that would kill most animals. They have been found in temperatures ranging from negative 328 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 200 degrees Celsius, to 304 degrees Fahrenheit, 151 degrees Celsius. How on Earth, or beyond Earth, can tardigrades survive in such inhospitable temperatures? When the environment gets too hot, too cold, or too dry, the land-dwelling tardigrades go into extreme hibernation. Called anhydrobiosis, they basically dry out and lose 97% of their body moisture. This causes them to shrivel to 1/3 their original size. This dried husk is called a tun, and a tardigrade can survive in this state for decades. Just like those water beads kids play with, tardigrades return to their original state when they encounter water. No wonder I like tardigrades. They are not only extremely cute, but also extreme in everything. I read in one article that under the right light, they can be seen with the naked eye. Now I have a new animal to put on my must-see list: mountain lions, penguins, and tardigrades.
Thank you all for joining us for our last session in Season 1. We plan to have a small break while the next season is getting set up. Jen, what's our next season about again?
Astrobiology.
You say that with such enthusiasm.
It's a favorite topic of mine.
Anyways, throughout this little break, we're going to definitely be posting small sparks, which are shorter episodes focusing in on just one singular topic. We hope you'll stick around for the next season, and I can't wait to see you all again. Bye-bye!